Hello, viewers. This evening, I'm going to talk about a comment that has been left by Johnny Red. Alright? Now, this is on my video regarding Ravinder and the fact that karma is not ideologically compatible with Christianity at all. Now, most Hindu people would agree because it comes from their religion. Most Sikh people would agree, I'm sure, as well, because we cannot call karma a Christian concept. We cannot call karma an Islamic concept. No. This is a very interesting subject because what I happen to respond, or rather the post that I happen to reply to Johnny Red with, is essentially having to do with cultural and religious appropriation, which many white Europeans did at a certain period in time. Ralph Waldo Emerson, the individual who Johnny Red is going to reference, did it as well as Russians such as Helena Roerich and Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, who was the founder of a particular religious movement known as Theosophy. Now, whether you call it a philosophical movement, it essentially combined religious ideas and philosophical ideas from basically all over the world. Not necessarily Africa and some of the places that, for example, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was a racist, and so for her, African people were of a lesser race, so she thought very highly of Indians, of Aryan people. Now, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky's ideas would eventually be incorporated into Nazism, and Adolf Hitler would use a good deal of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky's ideas, but there was a certain period of time in which many white Europeans and white Euro-Americans decided to essentially incorporate all manner of Eastern ideologies and religions basically into some type of Weltanschauung, what you may call a worldview. They would take Christianity and they would essentially sort of, how would you say, downplay Christian elements and create their own little religions and cults and groups and different philosophical and religious movements. Now, let me begin, because I have not even read his comment yet. Karma is not a Hindu concept. The word karma is Hindu, but the meaning of it is universal to all religions. Emerson called it the law of compensation. In the Bible, it is called retribution, or the wages of sin. In popular slang, it means what goes around comes around. It just means the effects of your actions coming back to you. Now, people, viewers, let us get to work. We should take some time to really recognize and really let us not underestimate the full oversimplification and reductionism, basically how he has reduced this concept, this very complex concept, down to a very, very simple thing that could essentially be applied to all religious ideologies, regardless of what religion it is. According to him, karma is universal to all religions. Now, take some time and recognize that he has not really explained karma. He has explained something very simple in a very colloquial manner. But frankly, this is very common among New Age people. Now he says the word karma is Hindu. No, the word karma is Sanskrit, which is a language, all right, from which Hindi would develop from. So this is what happens when you want to oversimplify everything. So basically, you cannot abstract, you cannot take karma away from the reality of reincarnation and impersonal Brahman. Brahman is essentially the Hindu idea of sort of God or ultimate reality, and God being more of a substance, an impersonal substance rather than a personal God. Now, we have to remember my video was not regarding Hinduism as a religion or any criticism of Hinduism, particularly. My video was about how karma is incompatible with Christianity. Now, how is it incompatible with Christianity? Obviously, if it is incompatible with Christianity, which is an ideology, obviously this idea is itself incompatible with Christian ideas of the afterlife. It is very simple to understand. But to simply say that karma is universal is ridiculous. You cannot have karma if you do not have past lives and future lives. You cannot take the Christian concept of heaven. You cannot take the Christian concept of the lake of fire, for example, hell or whatever type of judgment that the personal God gives, and sort of synthesize it in a syncretic way, in a theosophical way, you cannot take karma and synthesize it with Christianity. You cannot. But instead of basically trying to provide an explanation as how I can take, karma and really combine it with Christianity, he simply is going to state some things that are not karma. Retribution and the wages of sin are different than karma. The difference between retribution and the wages of sin is that they do not have a connection to a future or past life. You cannot, if you do something in this life, the idea in regard to karma is that you will pay for it in your next life. The only way you are not going to be reincarnated again is if you achieve moksha. All right? In other words, the idea is in Hinduism is that if you do not achieve enlightenment, salvation, basically moksha, you are going to reincarnate over and over and over and over and over and over again, and there's nothing that you can do about it. You are going to stay in the world forever and reincarnate over and over and over and over again. Essentially, there is no salvation unless you somehow have met a guru or a spiritual teacher who can teach you karma yoga, and somehow you can do well enough to basically achieve moksha. And even when you go about achieving moksha, you could fail because you do not have the reality, such as in Christianity, of a personal loving God who will save you, who will have mercy upon you and forgive you. That is not the situation in Hinduism. So we cannot take karma and basically apply it to Christianity. You could spin in Hinduism and many Hindu doctrines, it is said, you can practice karma yoga, trying to basically abstain from attachments or sins or whatever you might call it, and you could still reincarnate. And there is nothing that you can do about it. And they have no sort of conception of any type of reality besides that. In their ideology, and that particular Weltanschauung, you basically consider yourself doomed to reincarnate. it is basically, the idea is that unless somehow you achieve this very, very rare opportunity to basically achieve moksha, which is a type of enlightenment, you will reincarnate forever, over and over again, without end. Okay? This is what karma has to do with. But frankly, he said that karma is not a Hindu concept, and I said, this man, he's not going to talk about Hindu fundamentals, and he's not going to talk about Christian fundamentals. Now, for whatever reason, I talked about this in my last video. You can go to any dictionary. I brought up 4 dictionaries, and I got the word karma, and I looked at it. Basic concept common to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. The doctrine of karma states that one's state in this life is a result of actions, both physical and mental, in past reincarnations. So what did it say? A concept basic to Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. So what was that? What did he say? Karma is not a Hindu concept. It's universal to all religions? No, it is not. In Buddhism, the sum of a person's actions in one life which determine his form in the next. So if it is universal to all religions, why is it so that in Christianity there is not the reality, there is not the conception, there is not the idea of past and future lives, other than a sort of life in heaven or, a judgment in hell? We do not have the concept of past lives, so how can the concept of karma apply to Christians? How can you take the concept of karma and apply it to the Christian religion when it is not in the Christian religion? This is the problem with this theosophical logic that, is very common. Basically, New Age religion. They mix everything together and they act as though they are experts in religion, even though they have taken different things from different cultures, white Europeans, white Russians, Slavic people who created theosophy, that Hitler-esque type religion that is basically related to Nazi white supremacy that so many of you people support. You don't read about the root races. You don't read about the Aryans in Atlantis and the fact that these New Age ideas are being promoted now even within the neo-Nazi party. But nonetheless, many of you people, you really promote it and you really think that this is just excellent. You wanted to flee from Christianity as fast as you could, and so this is what you have accepted. You've accepted this weird little white supremacist theosophy, this New Age. And as for all of you people who are black, read what Helena Petrovna Blavatsky wrote about African people and lesser races. Okay? You do not have to be a genius to understand these things. Anyhow, Oxford World Encyclopedia says, central moral concept within Indian religion, denoting the underlying moral law of cause and effect which generates birth, death, and rebirth. Samsara until liberation. Okay, with the next one, a belief in Hinduism and Buddhism. Okay? A force generated by a person's action held in Hinduism and Buddhism to perpetuate transmigration. In other words, the movement of the soul from one body to the next. That is what transmigration means. At least in this context, because we're talking about transmigration within a Hindu and Buddhist context. So in other words, this is a Hindu concept. This is a Hindu concept. Should I trust what Johnny Red says, a person who was trying to quote Ralph Waldo Emerson to me, an individual who had his own biases and was actively, culturally appropriating Hindu religion? One of these white Europeans who were basically obsessed with Eastern religion. They take things from it and they basically make their own religion. And they do not want to give credit to the original, thinkers and authors of that religion. What a lot of you people do, unfortunately, it's very disrespectful. You you may consider yourself a theosophist, you may consider yourself a practitioner of New Age ideology or what have you, but you are not a Hindu, you are not an Indian. In all likelihood, you are not, because I've went to your channel, I've watched some of your videos, okay? And, you are conservative politically. So many of you alternative right people love the Joker, okay? But let me just say this. A lot of you people in the alternative conservative right, you have went away from Christianity. And you have accepted a bunch of New Age ideas. And you think that you are conservative. And you people are fake conservatives. I would consider myself more of a conservative than you people, to be entirely honest. But a lot of you folks do not realize, these are the same ideas that Hitler had. New Age religion. They appropriated the Srivatsa and different symbols from Hindus, and they considered themselves Aryans. German people who considered themselves Aryans, even though they look nothing like Aryan people. Hitler had people traveling to Tibet. Hitler had people traveling to Nepal. And they were comparing their features to these Aryan peoples. They did not look like them. They wanted to find some type of link between them and Indian people because they were obsessed with Indian religion. They were obsessed with Buddhism, with Tibetan Buddhism, and Hinduism. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was like that, and so was Adolf Hitler. Okay? And so it is, a lot of people have been calling a lot of conservatives and Republicans Nazis for a long time. A lot of alternative right people Nazis for a long time. And sadly, a lot of you people are going right to the religion that makes no sense. You are trying to appropriate concepts, and then someone calls karma a Hindu concept, and you take offense to it because you have accepted these ideas in a theosophical way. You really think that these ideas are sort of ideas that, apply to, that you can apply to all religions, and you can just, take away the Hindu-ness, take away the Indian-ness from this concept, but you cannot. It is a Hindu concept. It came from the Hindu religion. It came from Brahmanism. And it doth not matter how much you people pretend, it's universal to all religions. Yes, because you fake conservatives really think that somehow, basically applying, Western logic to Hindu concepts somehow makes it less Hindu. No. That's just the truth. It is a Hindu concept, and whether you believe it or not, you cannot reconcile, ideologically, Christianity and Hinduism. A lot of you people, conservatives, have been playing with New Age and ideas, Buddhist and Hindu ideas, and a lot of you people are not religious in the first place, in the sense that you're not really that scrupulous. You like to make your little alternative right memes. You are not spiritual people, you're worldly people. A lot of you people are obsessed with politics. Okay, you're obsessed with politics. That is what you are concerned with. You're scared that the country's going, it's going to, it's these minorities and these liberals are doing so much to us, and we're just, so many of you people, you are threatened by all of that. For me, I'm a Christian. Okay? That's it. That's it. I do not need to worry about all of these political things. I will defend my religion. I will defend my ideology. I will share my wisdom with the church, my fellow peers in Christ. The church is the body of Christ. And if you think that you're going to convince me that karma is not a Hindu concept, when every dictionary I go to tells me that karma is a Hindu concept, and that Hindus themselves say that karma is a Hindu concept, And you tell me, well, Ralph Waldo Emerson said that it's the law of compensation. Well, listen. Ralph Waldo Emerson was one of the individuals whose ideas were used in the founding of theosophy. You know, theosophy is essentially New Age religion. It doth not matter how much you New Age people mix ideas. The ideas that you mix into your little ideologies, they came from different countries and cultures. And in particular, the concept of karma came from Hinduism. All right? It did. So, you know, you may not like that, but it did. And it is not compatible with Christianity. And I would just put it this way. A lot of you people who get yourselves involved in these New Age theosophical, you know, movements, you accept these more, you know, these sort of mixed syncretic ideas. It would be more honest if you just came out and said, you know, my ideas and my ideology, my religion even is syncretic. It's mixed with different ideas from different cultures. In particular, this idea of karma came from Indian culture. It came from Hindu culture. It is a Hindu concept. Okay? But, I mean, I thought this was obvious. I really thought this was obvious. But anyhow, you know, he decided not to respond, and that is exactly why I'm doing this video. Because he may not understand this, but he came to the wrong channel to do that. Because here on my channel, and people who know me, you know, on this channel, we have excellent discussions. But this is a channel where, hey, if you're going to post something, reply back, because my channel, the way I have my channel is this. The forums are very accessible. In other words, there's a certain thing I do on my channel that many people do not do. Over here on the sort by section, in other words, for my comments, I have sort by newest. And I have allow all comments. Now, these are the best settings if you want your comment forms on your videos to be accessible. Anyone can post there, basically. And as long as you are not posting profanity or something ridiculously nasty, you will not be censored. Your comment will stay up. So, that is indeed the case here. So, you know, I was waiting for his comment. I replied back. Maybe he will reply. Or maybe he will reply to this video. I will be using the mention system on this video. If he wants to do a video reply, that would be good as well. But anyhow, you know, I decided since he didn't reply, I said, I'm going to do a video response. I'm going to do a video response, you know, because I like to expand the conversation. I really want to expand this discussion. So anyhow, I'm going to go over here to the Illustrated Encyclopedia of Hinduism. You know, I've quoted from so many different dictionaries and encyclopedias telling me that Hinduism is a Hindu concept. No, that karma is a Hindu concept, I mean. And now, you know, I'm just going to read this one. So that we can see, you know, some more evidence. The notion of karma and its connection with reincarnation, samsara, are perhaps the most fundamental concepts in Indian thought and are ideas shared by all Indian religions. Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, and Sikh. Did it say all religions? No. It said all Indian religions. Did it say that karma was a universal concept applicable to all religions? No. Although the literal meaning of karma is action, it is believed to encompass words and thoughts as well as deeds. The basic assumption behind the notion of karma is that of a dynamic universe in which any action that one takes will have consequences that will eventually affect oneself. In the simplest explanation, good actions will have good consequences and evil actions will have evil consequences. In an extended chain of cause and effect, since thoughts are considered actions, this determination of good and evil action also takes into account one's motives. A laudable action performed for an ignoble motive is still an laudable action, but will not generate as much merit as the same action performed for a purer motive. Karma is seen as a purely physical process, much like the law of gravity. It does not require a divine overseer, although in devotional Hinduism, God is generally seen as having the power to nullify one's past karma. But anyhow, there are different ideas regarding this because this is having to do with Hinduism and Hinduism as a religion. There are so many different ideas involved in it. Okay, some people consider Brahman to be impersonal. Very few people consider Brahman to be personal. The deities themselves are considered to be a sort of personal manifestation of Brahman, but nonetheless, God itself, or rather Brahman, impersonal, ultimate reality, and supreme substance, is not considered to be personal. The law of karma is impersonal, and it does not even require a divine overseer. So, regardless of whatever ideas people may have about it, they're considering this, they're comparing it to the law of gravity. And in other words, since Johnny Red and other people who have a New Age mindset like himself, they cannot at all even conceive of Christianity. Everything has to sort of be physical and impersonal. In other words, this is some type of idea that just works by itself, and it does not need God. And that is exactly why we as Christians, we cannot accept the idea of karma. We cannot apply it to our religion. It is an impersonal law. Not only that, you cannot really apply a concept that is when the essential principles of that concept have to do with past lives and reincarnation, when Christianity does not have any such ideas in it. So, karma is not at all compatible with Christianity. This is obvious. This is common sense. Now, we go to Hebrews 9:27, and it says, "And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment." In other words, Hebrews 9:27 explains it very clearly. Mankind, man or woman, has one life. Okay? And then you are judged. Now, you cannot judge if you do not have a personal mind. So this idea of an impersonal concept that just works by itself. Okay, you did something bad, now that bad has come back to you, without any sort of intervention of a personal judge. Here's the difference between, Christianity and most Hindu believers. We believe in a personal God. He can forgive. He can judge. Okay? He is an individual. He is a personal God. Now, it is true, there are some Hindus who do believe in a personal idea of Brahman. Now, many of them believe in their sort of Hindu avatars, their devas, and they're gods and goddesses, so to speak, who are sort of manifestations of supreme reality. Okay, whether we're talking about Krishna or Brahma or, Shiva or Vishnu or any of those so-called gods and goddesses, such as, Kali or whatnot. Okay? But most Hindus, they believe God is impersonal. They believe that karma is an impersonal law. So yes, there are nuances to this discussion, but in regard to Christianity, there is no real sort of illusion about that. We do not have any type of concept in which God is impersonal. God is always personal in the Christian religion. Now we could talk about denomination and different doctrines and beliefs, but for the most part, Christians believe in a personal God. God can forgive, God can judge you, okay? But he is personally involved with your destiny, okay? And he is, whether you want to call him omnipotent, omnipresent, or what have you, he is involved in our lives, okay? And so this isn't just some type of, you cannot apply the idea of karma in past lives to Christianity. You cannot apply, the ideas of a person like, Ralph Waldo Emerson, either, So if you do not know, he mentioned Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson graduated from Harvard and was ordained a Unitarian minister in 1829. Okay, and even today, Unitarian ministers are very liberal. It is kind of interesting that he wants to accept a person this liberal, even though he has a channel that focuses on conservatism. It is just as I said, today's conservative is different than yesterday's conservative. Because the truth is, if you're accepting Emersonian transcendentalism, you're accepting a pretty liberal ideology. Okay? Unitarians are some of the most liberal people that you can get involved with, even today. But, look at this. It's all about, the whole, look at that, Ilhan Omar, because they love talking about black people. So many of these alternative right conservatives love talking about black people. And basically Alex Jones, he is a crook. Bill Cooper knew he was a crook. This guy has been a swindler since the beginning. He's a comedian. He's an entertainer. He said it himself. Okay? But yes, it's just the usual. You have the relative, coon, Larry Elder, whatnot. Personally, I consider him to be, to me, it's just that most Republicans and most conservatives, they like a certain type of black person. And they don't like another type of black person. I will put it that way. But yes, very conservative, accepting the ideas of Ralph Waldo Emerson. If that constitutes your worldview, that is all I need to know about how conservative he is. He's not very conservative at all. Because, conservatism as an idea, most people think of Christianity, and here he's coming in my comment section literally speaking against me. This is a so-called conservative coming in my comment section speaking against the fact that I'm just simply saying, hey, these Hindus have their own thing. Christians have another type of thing. That Hindu thing is not compatible with this Christian religion. It is Hindu. It has to do with past lives, transmigration, reincarnation. Christianity does not have any of those things. And that's all I'm simply saying. But I have a so-called conservative wanting to come here and try to conflate retribution and the wages of sin with karma, with this idea that is intimately connected with past lives and coming back to life in a different body over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's so liberal, which a lot of you conservatives claim to hate. But look at this. I'm just a Christian. I'm not political at all. Okay? But, this is, I already knew. And it is funny that, it is the so-called conservative people who come into my comment section and basically try to, they are the ones who have the most issues with me. All I'm doing is defending the fundamentals of Christianity. And I'm simply saying Christianity has its fundamentals. And it's not the liberals coming to my comment section and doing this. It's not the liberals doing it. It's the conservatives. It's the so-called alternative right conservatives who've accepted, Petrovinian, Petrovnian theosophy. Okay? These people are not conservative at all. Let me just say that. There is no religion more conservative than Christianity. None. You can't find it. Okay? But, the thing is that they want to appropriate a lot of these people who are involved in New Age religion. They want to appropriate Hindu and Buddhist concepts and say, hey, we can apply it to our, to Christianity. We can apply it to anything. No, you cannot. No, you cannot, and you do not like to be corrected. But that is all right, okay? So, this is just funny. Really funny. I mean, but these people, they always find me. They always find me, these people. It was just like a Falun Dafa person, a person who's involved with Falun Dafa, that weird cult in which they worship Li Hongzhi, the Chinese man. I will do videos about that too one day. But it is just ridiculous. The people who, and of course it's that whole South Africa thing, the white genocide, which is horrible. It is horrible that, poorer whites in South Africa are abused in South Africa. But they use that as a sort of, justification. All these things, so many things that they use as a justification for racism, for anti-black, prejudice, to justify their own anti-black prejudice. There are still wealthy white South Africans who have a good deal, they still have control over there. And one of the problems is that they basically treat the poor South Africans like white trash. They do not treat them with very much respect. And you do have very wealthy white South Africans, and you still have extremely poor black South Africans. So the poverty in South Africa and the situation in South Africa, it cuts both ways. But it is not right that a lot of their politicians promote violence against white South Africans. That is not right. But, if you're a Christian, you get out of this political stuff. I am not conservative or liberal. If you come to my channel, know that the only thing I'm here to conserve is the faith. And when you come here telling me that I can apply karma to Christianity, and you basically do not, this short little comment, this little non-descriptive comment in which he is not fully explaining the idea behind basically how karma is universal. He's telling me what Emerson is saying. Why do I care about what Ralph Waldo Emerson has to say? A Unitarian minister? I'm supposed to learn about karma from a Unitarian minister. Is this a joke? Okay. But basically, his questioning of traditional doctrine led him to resign the ministry 3 years later. He couldn't even stay in a Unitarian church because he was so heretical. The Unitarians have usually been very liberal. But anyhow, he formulated his philosophy in that magazine Nature in 1836. The book helped initiate New England transcendentalism, a movement of which he soon became the leading exponent. In 1834, he moved to Concord, Massachusetts. I am not good at saying that particular state name. The home of his friend Henry David Thoreau. And Henry David Thoreau, obviously, he was another person who basically was trying to incorporate Hinduism and Buddhism, in his sort of Weltanschauung, okay, while at the same time sort of incorporating a little Christianity. But he was not a Christian. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, whatever he was, okay, whatever Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau, or regardless of what they consider themselves, whether they're Christian or whatever, whether they're transcendentalist or whatever their ideas are, let me say this. They do not define karma. And I'm not going to get a definition from Emerson or Thoreau. I'm not. Okay, those people are Euro-Americans. I'm not interested in getting the definition of karma from a Euro-American. I do not care what Emerson calls karma. Law of compensation, no. He has ideas that karma is a universal concept, but only in his little theology or ideology or Weltanschauung or whatever you would call it. Okay? But if I want to learn about karma, I do not go to the writings of Emerson. I go to books about Hinduism. If I want to learn about Jesus, or if I want to learn about, redemption in Christ, I read the Bible or books about Christianity. I do not read, just New Age and theosophical and transcendentalist books. So, it is quite ridiculous. His lectures on the proper role of the scholar in the waning of Christian tradition caused considerable controversy. So he already had a bias against Christianity anyhow. So a lot of people with biases against Christianity, they basically try to take their own ideologies and create their own little groups in which they incorporate Christian concepts and principles, and they say, oh, well, this is a universal religion. Anyhow, it is well known that he helped, his ideas would help basically, in the creation of the theosophical movement that was created by Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, that was carried forth by people like Alice Bailey. Okay, these are some of the most liberal people you can imagine. They're involved in the United Nations, which apparently so many of you alternative right people hate. None of you people like yourself should, you should look, you should hear, or rather listen to some of the radio programs of Bill Cooper. Here you're listening to Alex Jones, his trash. The trash of this liar Alex Jones. This man was a fraud ever since he started doing radio. Okay, and selling a bunch of products. But it is just as I say, you can be political or you can be spiritual. You can be worldly or you can be spiritual. And some people, they just get involved in this political stuff. But look, where is he? Is he making videos? No, he's coming to my comment section. It's been 2 months since he made a video. And he comes to my comment section talking to me about how karma is not a Hindu concept. Okay, this is really funny. This is really ridiculous. I at least thought, okay, he left the comment. Of course, he's gonna participate in this discussion, isn't he? He is going to participate in this discussion, isn't he? No, he ran off. I do not like that. When you come to my comment section and make a comment like that, hey, you better know I'm going to do a video about you if you do not participate in this discussion. So, to me, this was pretty brazen. Because I'm thinking, okay, you are not going to cite any sort of information. You're just going to tell me what Emerson said? A white Euro-American person No. I need more information than that. And I decided to provide the information. I said, I'm going to give you a well-written response. And that's exactly what I have done. So, anyhow, people, this was quite something. This was quite something. I have to say, now, I'm going to end this video now. May you be blessed, and farewell.